for the New York Football Giants. His third preseason game, he continues to look terrific. This is the opening drive, the opening minute on a 2nd and 6. Look at him stepping up in the pocket, Bart.
And that's what you love. You know, most guys get in trouble, they retreat backward. He steps up, throws a bullseye. Speaking about Dart, Greeny.
Yeah, it's Gunnar Olszewski. He's going to take that for a 50-yard gain, puts them in the red zone, and then here's the one that had everyone excited. Domonique with the dart in the end zone.
How many references are we going to make about Jaxson Dart and darts through his
bullseye?
At some point, we got to stop it.
It's a perfect name.
Triple 20.
Greg Dulcich through a tight window. And then, Dan Graziano, here's the one moment that you say to yourself, okay, we have a problem.
Hey, you got the first down, so you can slide. You can slide.
He doesn't slide.
You can slide.
It goes down. The fumble is not the important piece of this. Watch what happens to his helmet as he hits the ground. When he comes to the sideline, you can very clearly see what Brian Daboll is saying to him. He would go into concussion protocol. He'd be cleared, but he would not return to the game. So Jameis Winston came in and did what he always does. No, not throwing a pick six. He threw a touchdown to Jalen Hyatt for the score. Jaxson Dart's night and preseason come to an end, and they have been spectacular. He played 4 series in each of his 3 games in this preseason. He passed for 372 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, ran 6 times for 52 yards and a touchdown as well. Bart Scott, you host a New York-based radio sports talk show.
Oh, I do.
Jaxson Dart for the Giants. What is the first thing to say this morning?
I mean, he's done what he was supposed to do, right? He's passed every test. We don't know what that means during the regular season, but he's done everything he's supposed to. You talk about pocket presence, poise in the pocket. You talk about accuracy, everything that you want from your quarterback. And I feel like at some point they're going to have to evaluate him because he's in a unique situation. You have a rookie quarterback with a veteran coach that's basically coaching for his job. So at some point you have to sell the future, and Russ is the past. And I think the safe landing is probably going to be against the Saints.
I'm glad you said that because I think this is an important piece of this. The development of Jaxson Dart has got to be priority number 1 for the Giants, a team around which suddenly there were very good vibes, right? Like everything felt like death at the end of their season last year. They had a terrible year. The way they handled the Daniel Jones thing was terrible, and the Saquon Barkley thing made it all feel a whole lot worse. When John Mara decided to stick with his coach and his general manager, which surprised me, then what you were then doing is you're letting him draft the quarterback of the future because you believe Brian Daboll is the right guy to develop that quarterback, and there is reason to believe that. He's done it with Josh Allen. He's done it in other places. So the idea that this guy is coaching for his job is a mistake. They should not treat the season as though he is coaching to save his job. That can't be job 1, 2, 3, or 4. They got to have a chance to be much better than people think. They've got to develop the quarterback, and what it all means for the coach's job security just gets in the way of the business.
Of course. I mean, organizations that are stable in the leadership positions are the most successful ones, and the Giants haven't been that since Tom Coughlin was there.
Right.
And as a result, they haven't had success. So, yes, absolutely. Look, they draft Jaxson Dart in the first round. You're saying, yes, Brian Daboll, that's your guy. They talked to all of them, right? They had them all. They knew they couldn't get Cam Ward, but everybody else they had in, they worked them all out privately. Dart was the guy Daboll wanted. They traded up, and they got him. Okay, so now do it. But what's that look like? Like he has to make sure he's ready when they put him in. He has to make – here's the thing. At the end of the year, how Giants ownership feels about the direction of the team is going to be what makes the decision on Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. That's it. Like, not the record. But, like, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like the Patriots did at the end of last year about Drake May?
Right. What you're describing is a moral hazard, and I think a lot of us have fallen into this situation where we're looking at this like, if I were Brian Daboll, what would I do to save my job? And you're right. That's the wrong way anyone should be approaching this. There's the most important player in any organization is going to be the quarterback. You have someone who's showing some promise. If you have the incentives by the management or leadership there to do anything that would rush his progress or anything that would slow his progress, then you have the wrong person or the wrong setup.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is if he is ready, he should play when he's ready. If he's not ready, he shouldn't. And what their record is and all that stuff and what the fans are saying and all of that. But that always does factor in when you get on this hamster wheel like they've been on in Chicago. And that's how you wind up ruining a bunch of young quarterbacks.
Sure.
And you don't want to see that happen to this kid because I know it's only the preseason, but he looks good.
But this is why it's important, right? Because Daboll's future, he won, 4 or 5 games last year?
Yeah.
And we can think that they look beautiful and they look good. Well, 3. They look good, in the regular season or they look good in the preseason. But the reality is, if they don't win enough games, then you may have to move on. This is year 4 for Daboll, right? And you have a quarterback that you have to evaluate and sell the future with because if the Giants have the hardest schedule in football. They may
so maybe their record doesn't matter. But let me ask you a question.
It matters because they could be top 5 and you got Archie Manning sitting there and you got Klubnik.
Oh, yeah, no, you're going to play the kid. At some point, they're going to play the kid. What I'm saying is that do you believe Brian Daboll is the right guy to develop the quarterback or not?
He didn't develop Daniel Jones.
If the answer to that, well,
You're saying he shouldn't be on the hot seat.
maybe I'm saying he shouldn't be on the hot seat because if you put him on the hot seat, it is natural to expect him to coach like a person on the hot seat.
I agree. I think there's some that these conversations always bug me a little because I think you're insulting someone's character when you say like they're going to do what it takes to save their job. I mean, he still works for the job. I get it, human nature. I get it, but I do think there's some level of like I'm the Giants coach. I'm going to do what's best for the Giants, and if they don't like it, they'll fire me. Fine. I understand what you're saying. I get it. I remember this goes back to a conversation I had years ago with Brian Cashman when I was covering the Yankees, and I asked him flat out, like, this is you're not under contract for next year. Trade deadline's coming up. Does this have any impact? He said if it did, I shouldn't have this job because I should be doing it stuck with me. Now, obviously, Brian had nothing to worry about. He's still the GM. It's 20 years later.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it's about Jaxson Dart when he's ready. Jaxson Dart being a success is what's going to save Brian
And to be clear,
Daboll.
I don't mean this as critically about Brian Daboll. If you told me
No,
your
I
job
get it. I
depends
get
on
it.
you doing this, I would do it. It looks like they avoided bad news in Baltimore.
Lamar Jackson left practice a couple of days ago after getting his foot stepped on. They x-rayed it. Apparently, it came back okay. He didn't practice yesterday, but head coach John Harbaugh telling reporters there in Baltimore that they avoided a major problem. He said prayers get answered sometimes. So it sounds like full steam ahead for Lamar Jackson. We'll see when he's able to get back into practice. Travis Hunter, the Jaguars rookie, who's going to play on both sides of the ball in the NFL, just like he did in college. He's been missing practice time with what the team describes as an upper body injury. Not going to play in the Jaguars preseason finale, but head coach Liam Cohen saying yesterday that it's just about getting him ready for the regular season and that if it was a game that counted, he would be able to play. And another rookie, first-rounder Derek Harmon of the Steelers, left last night's game with what Coach Mike Tomlin said afterwards was a knee sprain. They're sending him for further testing today. We're awaiting word on how severe that injury is. It sounds like he might have to miss some time just because we're so close to the start of the season. But stay tuned on Derek Harmon, a big part of the Steelers' plans on defense
Absolutely.
this year.
That would be a terrible shame for a team trying to get off to a fast start. They play that fascinating opener, Aaron Rodgers at the Jets, his former team. Meanwhile, speaking of Rodgers, the former Steeler quarterback Ben Roethlisberger predicted back in May the Steelers would win 11 games this year. Then he went and watched Aaron Rodgers at camp. He now has a different prediction. Listen.
Watching Aaron work, he threw one pass, and as he was starting to walk over me, I was like, man, tell you what, one thing doesn't stop working, and that's that arm. Like his arm looks good. And at some point before the season starts, I'm going to go back through my book, my football notebook, and I might have to readjust my pick for the season in wins and losses.
So we've heard that from a couple of different places. People see Aaron, they see how he throws the football, and they think to themselves, wait a minute, he's a lot better than we were expecting. Now, in fairness, that was never going to be the issue, right? His ability to, when he's 65, he'll be able to sling it. There are some guys who are like that. The question is, you were paid to watch every snap of Jets football last year. Do you believe that with better coaching, and it couldn't be worse than what the Jets had last year, winning around the margins, probably a better team and everything else, that Aaron Rodgers is still good enough to carry this team to more than 11 wins?
Absolutely. And I've been on this, and I was saying, hey, I believe the Jets should have kept him because he's a year more removed from the Achilles injury. So now he's back to being who he is. And listen, that's not the only report, hearing from Ben. Willie Colon, who I do the Jets postgame with, is a former Steeler who went down there and saw the same thing. He's the biggest Aaron Rodgers skeptic. He came back and said, bro, he back. He back 100, and if he's back to a quarter of what he was before, then 10-7 Steelers last year, I think his plus his WAR would be 2 games.
Brooke, you're there every single day. For those of you who don't know, Brooke is our Steelers reporter, so you've literally watched every second of his time there. Does it look as good on the field as someone like Ben is suggesting?
It does and it doesn't, right? Because yes, the arm talent is great, but that was never the question. The question is, he took so long to sign. He has to have this expedited chemistry with the offense, and that wasn't always there in training camp in Latrobe. I can't remember a signature deep shot that he completed to DK Metcalf or anybody else down the sideline. And maybe that's not going to be his game this season. He obviously doesn't have George Pickens. If he did, maybe that would be different. But I think that the question is, how much can he move? How mobile is he going to be? Can this offensive line protect him? None of the questions are, can his arm get the ball there?
And I think also the Achilles is important. And a year removed from that does give me a little bit more confidence, because I think we are fascinated with his arm talent. But we have to remember, Aaron Rodgers at his peak was one of the creative guys, was one of the guys who get out of the pocket, who adjust. He's not a runner necessarily, but who used his athleticism to create angles and create big plays. So if his Achilles is better, obviously he's not going to go back to 28-year-old Aaron Rodgers level of athleticism, but enough to create some big plays. And I think what is inherent in all of this is that we're expecting the Steelers to be better support for him and him not to have to be MVP level.
So I did an essay yesterday here on the show. Nick, you were here, obviously. Brooke, you were here as well. It got a lot of reaction online, which I love. Some people agreeing, some people strongly disagreeing. That's the beauty of this. There were 2 stats that jumped out to me that I think were the most important. The first one I can show you, D20. Since Big Ben Roethlisberger left the Steelers, they are 17-2 in games in which they don't turn the ball over.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers has the lowest interception percentage in NFL history. I know. I can hear you, and believe me, I saw you in your responses. The last couple of years, he has thrown more interceptions. He has to be the Aaron Rodgers who doesn't turn the ball over for this to succeed. The other stat, and Bart, you know this one better than anybody. Mike Tomlin always wins games that are decided by 6 points or fewer. He's won 65% of those games.
Right.
The Jets were 0-7 in those games last year. That's the stuff around the margins. Right. That's where the coaching makes the difference. Rodgers had them that close, and they weren't that good, and their coaching was, to be fair, inept. This is not. This is the opposite of that.
And they don't need Aaron Rodgers to be MVP Rodgers that he was before. They just need him to be able to make the play, get him in the right play with his football acumen, and be able to get them in the right situations to be successful. So the percentages, they're going to lean on his defense like the Steelers always do. But now you have a guy that when you look over and you see Patrick Mahomes, you see Lamar Jackson, you're not afraid because you got Mason Rudolph behind you and going against you, saying, hey, I have a guy that can maybe find a way with his football acumen, his skill set, and his experience to exploit the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pressure that we're putting on Aaron now is not the same that was being put on him before, which is why we're high on him. But I do still think that obviously the coaching matters at the end of the game, but the quarterback matters a lot too. And the question is, like, we were excited about Aaron Rodgers in practice last year and excited about him in practice the year before. Of course, the injury threw it off. So I think they'll be the Steelers, so they're going to be around, whether they can take that step to be further, and also the expectations.
Right.
They need to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it would be worse, though, if we went through all of this and practice was terrible. Right. I mean, he is passing all the tests that are being put in front of him. He's trimming everyone. He's trimming Ben Roethlisberger. That's not easy to do.
I think they surpassed the Bengals in the division.